Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura. This is Culture Nonsense, and yes, once again I took a bit of a hiatus. However, that is because I've been so engrossed, some might say obsessed, with this Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. I honestly just haven't been able to look away. I'm talking, looking at the 10+ hour live streams of different people on YouTube. Let me just rewind here. First of all, if you do not know what I'm talking about, there is a very sensationalized case going on at the moment. I'm assuming most of you know who Johnny Depp is. He's been in many, many films throughout the last 4 decades. And if you're like me, you really had no idea who Amber Heard was outside of that one role she had in Aquaman recently. The trial that is going on right now has kind of captured the attention of the nation, and maybe it's not quite as all-encompassing as it is in my mind. I can have a very skewed perspective because it's something that I'm interested in and have been, kind of obsessed with. So the algorithms of everything is just feeding me more information about it. So maybe it's not as widely looked at as I've seen, but to me, I honestly can't remember a time there was a celebrity trial, this sensationalized since OJ. And obviously that was in a whole other league of its own. However, I can't think of another celebrity trial in the past decade at least that's been this popular. Popular in terms of eyes on it, ears on it, theories, and now we have all sorts of social media where everyone is just piggybacking off of each other. So speaking of piggybacking off of each other, I have some thoughts. I'm obviously very late to this party. The trial has been going on for like 5 weeks at this point. But the reason I'm making a video now is because this week is actually off in terms of the trial. The judge is at a conference, so there's no trial this week, and I think it's a good time for a lot of people to catch up on it if they have no idea what it is or were kind of overwhelmed by all the coverage that was happening day to day. So if you're one of those people who would like to get caught up, you have until May 16th, and then the trial starts again every day. And I believe starting then, it's going to happen like an hour earlier and go half an hour later, and it's going to be every day, Monday to Friday. So you have a little less than a week to catch up. I want to make a couple of videos about this because there are a lot of different things that have been going on in the trial, a lot of different opinions, and I'm sure by making a couple different videos, I can also remember some things that I had forgotten because that's bound to happen. There's just so much information. So going all the way back to 2009, that's when Johnny Depp and Amber Heard met. They were both in the movie The Rum Diary, in which Johnny was a producer and Amber Heard was cast somewhat as his love interest in this film. So they met during that production, seemed to get along well. According to both of them, they had some really good conversations. They really connected with each other. However, they were both in relationships with different people at this time, and they didn't really reconnect until late 2011, and the media reports said that they started dating in early 2012. However, I believe in both of their testimony, they said that they might have been seeing each other before then, but it was a little bit secret because they hadn't publicly split from their other partners. Anyway, by 2012, the two were dating, and they ended up getting engaged in 2014, married in 2015, and then they were actually only married for 15 months, I believe. It was a very short marriage. The reason for this is that Amber Heard filed a restraining order and claimed that Johnny Depp had perpetrated some abuse. Now, this entire time, Johnny Depp has maintained his innocence on this. However, I think just to try to get the divorce out of the way, settle things amicably, he ended up paying her a settlement in between $7 and $8 million. And this was actually stipulated to be after tax, by the way. So that was the amount of money that she was getting, and it wasn't going to be taxed any more than that. Now, during this time, there was an article run by a British newspaper, The Sun, in which they called Johnny Depp a wife beater. Also, while this was going on in 2016, Johnny Depp's lawyers actually alleged in a court document that Heard was attempting to secure a premature financial resolution by alleging abuse. Essentially, things weren't going well in the marriage, and she wanted to get out ahead of it and claim abuse to make sure that she would, get more money in the divorce. Nasty. Now, on June 1st, 2018, a couple years later, Johnny Depp sued the News Group newspapers, a company that published The Sun, and he sued them for libel over an article published that referred to him as a wife beater. Now, he lost this case. However, it is interesting to note that some of the reasons why were, or I guess things that the British court relied on for their ruling, is the fact that they discredited Johnny Depp, essentially not believing his testimony, and discredited the police, because in 2016, police were called for a potential DV situation, and when they showed up, they didn't see anything wrong, saw no signs of anything, no bruises, didn't even write a report because they didn't think it was warranted, essentially saying, we saw no signs of anything. So their testimony, for some reason, was also discredited. Now, the third thing that they relied on for their ruling was that they couldn't see any reason why Amber Heard would have any potential financial gain because, as we said earlier, his lawyers alleged that she was trying to do this to get financial gain from the divorce. However, she had stated that she was actually donating all of this money to charity, I believe to the ACLU and a children's hospital. So they essentially said, she has no reason to lie because this isn't really financial gain. She donated all of that money away. Interestingly enough, in this case, we found out that she didn't do that. She did donate some of the money, I believe about $350,000, and there was actually some other money that Johnny Depp additionally donated on her behalf. However, she did actually have a lot of financial gain from this divorce because she lied. She didn't donate the money she said she was going to. Now, as I said, Johnny Depp eventually lost that case, and there was not as much media focus on it. I think partially because it was in the UK, and he was suing the newspaper group, not Amber Heard herself. However, in December of 2018, Amber Heard wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post. This Washington Post article is what is being discussed in the current defamation case against Amber Heard. What is really interesting about this case is because it's been going on for many years, or rather, there was the original restraining order and everything that went on in the divorce, then the Sun trial, and now this trial, we actually do have an incredible amount of evidence, and it's interesting to see how some things may have changed over time. There are also a couple different intricacies in this case that I think are very interesting and not many people fully understand. And let me just preface this by saying I am not a lawyer. I am a regular person. I do work in the legal field, but I'm a paralegal. I do intellectual property things. So this is not my area of expertise at all. However, as I said, I've been listening to a lot of lawyers, and I'll provide a lot of links down below, especially the channel Legal Bites. They have a bunch of lawyers come on and give their opinions. And I think it's been really illuminating to hear about these different aspects of the law that a lot of lay people do not know about or might not fully understand. So first of all, this is a civil case. It's not a criminal case. So when people are saying that, it has to be found beyond a reasonable doubt, that is not the standard of evidence here. It's really just a preponderance, I believe. So pretty much if you're more sure than not that, Johnny's side is right, that's okay. It's like 50 plus 1 is the benchmark that we're looking here. So you can still have some doubts. You can still think, well, maybe what Amber is saying is correct, but if there's more evidence on Johnny's side and you're just 51% sure of his arguments versus Amber's arguments, that's the standard that we're reaching for. So in that sense, it's good for Johnny Depp because he doesn't have the burden of proof that you would have in a criminal trial. The other thing is that the title of this article may be of actual importance here. Now, Amber's side claims that the Washington Post actually have this title and that she didn't write the title. And the reason that this is important is because in addition to DV, this title brings up SA, which is not something that was originally in other cases. It's very, very difficult with Johnny and Amber's relationship history for Johnny Depp to say that there was never any type of abuse on my side, because abuse is such a wide term. It could be, verbal, physical, sexual, all of these things. And so it's a lot murkier, and it's really hard to say he did absolutely nothing abusive for however many years they were together. However, if we're taking just this one instance here that's alleged in the title, and if the case is allowed to focus on SA specifically, that is a lot easier to disprove. So the scope of what this trial is about is not quite yet determined, I believe, because there's an issue about this title and whether or not Amber Heard freely adopts it as her own words, I think, because the Washington Post wrote this title. And so Amber Heard's side is saying, well, we're not actually alleging that. The Washington Post did it. I have nothing to do with it. However, she retweeted it and wrote this whole paragraph about how I published this, I stand behind it. And we're really thinking in legal terms, does this tweet count as republication? Because if it does, then she's essentially adopting the title and saying, I wrote this, this is my stance. And if the judge rules in favor of that, then Johnny's team might be able to focus on that one thing specifically and say that categorically there was no SA, and that makes their case a whole lot easier to win, because you might say, yeah, maybe he even hit her once. Maybe he said some really unkind things. Maybe there were instances that you could classify as abuse. However, what is being spoken about here in this article is categorically untrue, and that's what the defamation is about. I do believe, however, the judge has not ruled on that yet, so we're still waiting. Now, I'm going to wrap up this video by saying I believe Johnny Depp and I don't believe Amber Heard. It is really hard for me to wrap my mind around some of the things that she's been saying, and I feel very uncomfortable because honestly, I do believe I have a strong bias towards women and believing survivors of different things. However, I think it is also important to look at what all of the evidence is showing us. And the other thing that has people really interested in this case is that there is so much evidence from over the years of recordings that the two took of each other, pictures, all of this sort of stuff. So we have a lot of evidence to help us make these decisions. And in my mind, the evidence very, very strongly points towards Johnny's side being more truthful, in addition to many things that Amber has testified to that don't match up at all with the evidence that we have. Again, in terms of pictures and videos, pretty much things that are undeniable, just don't make sense with what she's testifying. I want to make a couple more videos diving into different aspects of this case, but this video was really just kind of an intro and laying the groundwork for what we know. So if there is something I got wrong, left out, that you want to clarify or argue with me about, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Like I said, I am not an expert in this. It's quite possible I got something wrong. And if I have a misunderstanding about something, or if you think you can explain it better, feel free to do that. It's great whenever something's clarified, because then we can all have a better understanding moving on. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.